Good morning, Ram fam. My name is Aaron Espinoza, an Inclusion and Engagement Leader with the Multicultural and Student Activities programs. With us today, we have a very special guest on El Cafecito, our new Inclusion and Engagement Leader, Zach Peterson. How are you doing, Zach?
I'm doing wonderful. I'm very excited to be here and a part of this team and family. All of the above. I'm doing well.
Great.
How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. I'm ready for finals to be over. I'm sure you are too. So, you know, we're living in paradise pretty soon. So,
Yep.
all
Smooth
right.
sailing.
Yeah, let's go ahead and get started. Number one, what was your high school college plans versus what you are majoring in now?
My high school college plans. So what I thought I was going to do when I was in high school.
Yeah, like
Okay.
what your plan is versus what it is now.
Well, I actually, for the most part, I stuck to my guns. And I really didn't have a plan until I'd say my senior year. I had no idea what I wanted to do. But I had an English teacher. She was also my French teacher that was super pivotal in, like, I guess you could say, my educational and like how do you say it? Philosophical development. Just a great teacher. I'd had her for 4 years as a French teacher, and then they kept the French program, and she ended up teaching English my senior year of high school, and she just taught differently. And because of that, I didn't really care for my English classes prior to then, but then after that, I learned that I could enjoy it and that it can be incorporated into different ways that could interest me, and I wanted to do that. And so that's led to me wanting to be an English major, and that's what I've kind of stuck to. So
that's amazing. You know, my heart goes out to you. I'm not very grammatically inclined, so like with the way you speak about it, like, you could change my mind.
I couldn't say philosophical a second ago, so
It's all right. Okay, next question. 3 things you'd do if you weren't so afraid.
if I weren't so afraid.
Oh.
Oh man, what would I do?
That's a tough one, you know?
That's almost harder to answer than what would you do if you had like $1 million, because it's like the only thing that really is holding you back is, can be fear.
Oh yeah.
I think I'm gonna have to think on that one. Can we come back to it?
Yeah, we can come back. No worries. That one's a tough one, you know? If you could live anywhere in the world, where would it be?
Well, I don't think I've been happier anywhere in my life than I am right here in San Angelo. I love it here. I know I think it's harder for people to say that were probably grew up here their whole lives, and that kind of get away from your town syndrome that everyone gets up. But I grew up here. I lived here till I was about 12, and then moved to Brownwood. After that, I moved to Alaska. I've been all over. And then I decided I wanted to come back 2 years ago, and it's home. So I'm very happy I'm here. But if we're talking, if it has to be somewhere foreign, Iceland is. I'm sorry, I hope you can hear that.
No worries.
How to mute that. We went to Iceland 2 summers ago, and man, they have it figured out.
Oh yeah.
Like, the people I was talking to, they work like 25 to 30 hours a week. They are happy, like they're taken care of. Like, yeah, it's just such a low stress, out of the rat race type living vibes. Like,
that's
so I'd live in San Angelo with bi-weekly vacations to Iceland.
There you go. That's a good compromise. I think that's fair, a nice vacation home in Iceland. There you go. Reykjavik.
Exactly. Yep. That's where we went. It was wonderful.
What were you really good at outside of school as a young adult?
As a young adult.
And I guess that could mean anything from like 14 to,
Okay. So I started playing guitar when I was about 13 years old. And I wanted to be a rock and roll star until I was about 25 years old. I'm 29 now, and I'm past that dream.
Uh-huh.
But I played a lot of guitar when I was growing up. I'm the biggest Jimi Hendrix nerd you'll ever meet, probably. And man, that guy's music's like my lifeblood.
Uh-huh.
So I still play, but more so just for the pleasure of doing so myself. But I would play like anywhere from 5 to 10 hours a day. When I was in high school, I had like this, my room was detached from the house. It was in a garage apartment, which my parents were incredible for trusting me with that.
Uh-huh.
But it was really cool. I would just like, I'd go to school during the day and hang out with my friends, whatever. And then I would play my guitar all night for all the time I was in high school.
That's amazing.
So I can still play. It's probably one of my more hidden abilities.
All right.
I'm not quite as good as I once was, but
hey, that's okay. You can always jump back into it whenever you want,
absolutely.
If for whatever reason, what was the reason why you didn't pursue it?
Well, I mostly joining the Army straight out of high school. I didn't take, I couldn't take my guitar to basic training. I got stationed up at Fort Richardson, Alaska, which I ended up buying a guitar up there. Around the time I did, we deployed to Afghanistan, was there for a year, came back, and I picked it back up. And I was like getting ready to make a band when I got out of the Army and back to Texas. I put a little group together. We actually played the Blues Festival here in San Angelo like 2 years in a row, I think. It was a lot of fun, really cool. I met some cool people doing that. And then being still obligated to the National Guard after I got off of active duty, I got deployed again. And then after that, I was just kind of over it. I was in school still. I was at the time working full time. And I just realized, like, which I have uncles and family in the music business, and I was just tired of being gone. And I also, like, I have to be honest, like, what are the chances, like, I'm actually going to do something with it? Just have fun with it and don't put the pressure on myself to, try and be a big shot.
Yeah, I mean, that's one way to look at it,
So it's kind of like reverse pessimism. Like, you have to be optimistic about being pessimistic. I don't know if that sounds bad or not. Like, of course, follow your dreams, but like, you also want to question what your dreams are and why they are, like, ultimately, like, having a family and being home and cherishing that time is more meaningful than being on the road all the time and trying to make money and be famous,
Yeah.
And I think that's what it came down to for me. And being away from my family so much, like in the military, kind of helped show me that
aspect of being away from, that's what matters at the end of the day, is like knowing that you're happy with your choice.
Absolutely.
If you could meet any fictional character, who would it be?
Fictional character.
Anybody you can think of, from literature, movies, TV shows.
One of my favorite fictional characters, one of my favorite movies of all time. It's always hard for me to pick one time, but this is just, or like a one, like, top single answer. But because it's one of my favorite movies, I would say George Clooney's character in No Brother Where Art Thou.
Okay.
He's kind of a scuzzy dude, but he's just like so funny. Like, I don't know, something about him. I think I'm gonna have to go with that for now. I could probably think of something better, but
see, the way I kind of think about it is like, what if I had to be roommates with this person? Like, who would I want to live with? That's a tough one. Like, if you had to pick a fictional character to live with.
You know what? I'm gonna go with Samwise Gamgee from Lord of the Rings.
I Yeah, I don't know. I feel like there'd be like lots of mess. In my opinion.
There's
In my
lots
opinion.
of food too.
Yeah. If you could describe yourself as a flavor of ice cream, what would it be?
Mm, I'm gonna say mint chocolate. Mint. I can't talk.
Mint chocolate.
Chocolate chip is probably my go-to.
Oh,
Uh, and I have a hard time finding people that like it. So
I,
that kind of makes it not. I usually get along with most people, so that's not what I'm saying. But it
I
makes it unique, and I like it.
personally I like it. You know, I get people who are like, it's like eating toothpaste. And I'm like, well, no, there's chocolate. There's not
Yeah, those
chocolate.
people are wrong.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. Um, that or sea salt caramel, you know. I'm a little salty, I'm a little sweet, you know.
Yeah,
Balance sometimes, you know. um, what book did you read over and over again as a child?
as a child, uh, I read the Goosebumps books a lot and had a lot of nightmares.
You had nightmares? I loved Goosebumps.
Yeah. I think there's one that was called The Blob That Ate Everything.
Oh,
You remember that one? Is like a big thing of like looked like bubble gum that was just like
yeah,
eating.
yeah, yeah.
Okay, yeah, that one terrified me.
And the Night of the is it the Living Dummies?
The
Is it
Living Dummies.
that one scared me bad, dude.
I don't even think I could pick that one up because the dummy itself was so scary.
Oh yeah.
I read those and then I read lots of books about like the Titanic and what else?
I would say I was pretty big on like the Magic Treehouse books too.
Those were cool too, yeah.
Cool.
But the most impactful one I think I read the Diary of Anne Frank when I was
Oh wow.
fourth grade, I think.
Uh-huh.
I was like just fascinated
Uh,
by her story and the stories of people like her.
mhm.
And even to this day, like people still going through that like type of like just like genocide and discrimination and
Oh
things
yeah.
like that. Like it's still happening. But that story like opened my eyes to that. And that was one that really had a big impact on me growing up.
What was going on? Yeah. Um, I actually had we had an assignment. I want to say it was like in eighth or seventh grade where, you know, we were reading the book of Anne Frank and like all the things that were going on and things like, you know, they would ration things and like they couldn't make noise during the day or at night for that matter. And like part of the project was that for one night throughout the week we had to like completely cut off everything. So like we couldn't use electronics, couldn't uh we had to be quiet, couldn't make noise. We had to like it had to be like 2 pages worth of content of like our like journaling experience.
Yeah.
Had to be by candlelight. Um, couldn't make any noise. And you know, it was weird. You know, I was like, nobody's gonna do this, right? I was like, you know what? I'll actually do it. I just want to see like if I can do it, you know.
Yeah.
And it's wild to think that like that was life for people, you know.
Yeah.
And in that sense, it was eye opening having to actually like, you know, I mean, in no way was I just pretending for the sake of pretending, but like to know that on some
Yeah.
that's what people experienced.
That's a really cool way to like, I guess, immerse yourself in that
Mm.
experience rather than just reading it. I think the way so I was introduced, I think we did it was, I keep saying, I think, I know what we did.
Uh-huh.
We did a project. It was like a living museum. And
Okay.
so you would dress up like a character from history.
Uh-huh.
And we had like a showcase night and everyone had a little button, like a doorbell on their shirt. And you'd
Uh-huh.
walk around to the other kids and press their button and they would recite their like story. And there's another girl in my class that was her. And that was the first time I'd ever heard of her.
That,
And I couldn't like stop asking questions, and then I had to get the book, and from there, just yeah,
kind of like piqued your curiosity, you
yeah, I
know.
did. I had no idea anything like that was even possible of happening.
Oh yeah, like I think there's definitely different aspects from that era and time, you know, just based on, you know, the Holocaust itself and the political and like geographic dynamics between those different world powers, you know. There's so much that goes into that time.
Yeah,
If you could become an expert in any subject or activity, what would it be?
Subject or activity? I think, I want, okay. I know I'm an English major, but I'd probably say history.
His,
I have considered changing my major, but I'm too far into it, and I love what I'm doing.
yeah, I
But
mean, you could always come back. I mean,
yeah, absolutely. And like one thing is influenced by another. Like one thing about literature that's always fascinating to me is the history that
kind of,
influences, and vice versa, how the literature and the culture and art influences history and the way people do things. But um, I've always enjoyed history too, and I think just to like be able to know it in and out would be something really cool. Like just having that information on hand. And
what boggles my mind is the fact that, like, you learn history as going throughout grade school into like into your college years, and like for me, I I I don't know if it was like an awareness thing. I don't know if this is something that I just kind of like missed out on. Like I kind of like, oh yeah, like the fact that other things, like, I mean, obviously other things were happening in the world during like historical events, but it's like for me, I think it's a lot of fun like creating a timeline where, like, so while this event was happening, this was happening, kind of like stacking it kind of thing. I've always enjoyed that, like the things were
yeah,
coinciding with one another.
yeah,
And the fact that like different historical events will like have repercussions like years and years to come, like 2020, for example, like the pandemic itself, there, from now till infinity, us as a generation, everyone who experienced it will move forward being, hopefully careful about, like, hand hygiene and stuff like that.
yeah,
It's weird how like those ramifications will play on like future generations, in the same way
yeah,
that maybe like the Great Depression affected our grandparents, the pandemic will be a lot cleaner than our children might be.
yeah. And you think about um, like my wife, she worked in Korea for 2 years, South
Mhm.
Korea, and she, before the pandemic, she had told me, and I'm sure people have seen this, but it's pretty common for people to wear face coverings over
Oh,
there, and
yeah.
I'm not sure if that's like all foreign countries or not. But she said it was normal, and she would wear a face mask just because that's what people did.
Uh,
And now you're gonna start seeing that everywhere, like as just like a personal choice.
kind of like a courtesy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Um, okay. How do you think others see you when they meet you for the first time?
Um, Probably quiet at first. I
Yep.
can't be. Usually, it takes a
Like a
little.
little warm up period.
Yeah, yeah. Usually, like it's not super long. Hopefully, friendly though.
I mean, in my experience, I thought you were like super friendly.
Okay, cool. That makes me feel better.
I was like, man, I hope I don't scare him.
No, and see, I have this fear too that if I'm quiet, because sometimes I am, and especially like if I'm working on something, it's hard for me to poke. Like I can't. I can either talk and have good conversation, or I can work. I can't do them both at the same time. So if I'm trying to like do something and like I hope they don't think I'm just like snooty or stuck up or whatever, like it's easy to be perceived as someone who's cold
Oh,
and just like if you're quiet. And that's something that's happened before, but usually it's,
oh,
I mean, not like in a
yeah,
big way.
yeah. But no, I understand that. Like, I mean, from experience that I'm the type of person that will definitely like someone can say my name and like, I mean, granted, saying Aaron is not pretty like hard to say, but like someone could definitely screw up my name and I'd be too shy to tell them otherwise, to tell them that that it's wrong. I'd be like, okay,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
was
See, I'm right there with you. Usually it's in regard to spelling.
uh,
Uh, I'm not going to correct somebody if they're spelling my name wrong.
no, right, like they know what they're doing.
You can, it still makes the same sound.
Yeah, yeah. Um, what famous world festivals would you like to attend?
Famous world festivals.
Could be anything.
Um, I really want to attend there's a hot air balloon festival in, I want to say, Albuquerque. It might be Santa Fe.
I know it was New Mexico, but I think you're right. I think it's Albuquerque. I've seen pictures of that, and that's amazing.
Yeah, I would. Um, yeah, I'd love to go there.
Mm.
Or I mean, I've been there, but I'd love to go attend that.
Mm.
Maybe I should have more awareness of other festivals that take place.
I mean, I don't know too many myself either. I mean, I know Carnival down south, and the Festival of Lights in Spain. That one's a really cool one where they project lights and like
Yeah,
different architects, kind of like architects slash artists, kind of like showcase their art, and that one's really cool.
one that I have been to. I guess this would kind of count. Every year in Anchorage, they do what's called the Fur Rendezvous,
Mhm.
and it coincides with the Iditarod sled dog race, but it's just like a celebration of like Alaskan culture, like, and it kind of intermingles like the native culture of the area with
Uh-huh.
everything that's already there. Alaska is just like a big melting pot now. It's pretty cool, but
That's really cool.
yeah, that was neat.
I have two questions for you at the end to add on top of it, maybe three, just
Okay.
for my own curiosity. Um, but uh, what are some of your idiosyncrasies? I don't know if I pronounced that correctly.
You might have to explain that to me and cut
I,
it
I mean, I'm not sure. I just kind of like I was like idiosyncrasy. We may have to look up the
back and then we
definition on that one. Let's look it up. Idiosyncrasies. Hey, this is the first time for me too. A mode of behavior or way of thought peculiar to an individual, or
Okay.
distinctive or peculiar feature or characteristic of a place or thing.
Okay.
That's a tough one. I don't know. I mean, like, I guess for me, like, that's a tough one. Like, I guess it's in kind of like like in the form of an analogy. You know how it's like food tastes better when it's from someone else's plate,
Yeah.
something like that, or like um, like what's a good one?
It's kind of hard to think of your own. Like,
Yeah.
I think I could tell you if I got my wife on the phone, she'd probably be able to just rattle them off, and I could
Like,
tell you all hers. Um,
um, I don't know. I have one, I guess, kind of like go on autopilot. When I
okay.
travel back home, I mean, Texas, it's long straight roads between towns and cities.
Yeah.
And it's a form of highway hypnosis where you can you're completely aware. Um, you're able to respond to external stimuli like you need to turn, you need to avoid something, and
Okay.
30-45 minutes later it's like spontaneous amnesia, and that happens to me all the time. Do you know where Big Spring is?
Yeah.
I can drive past Big Spring and like snap out of it and like, oh wait, did I just pat, like, where am I, kind of thing. Like, it's happened
Yeah.
multiple times. It's crazy.
Man, I've done. Okay, I have done that to myself driving, and what I was doing is, I think I don't know where I was going, but I've been on the road for a long time, and I will get in this habit where I'll try and make like a speck on the windshield, like, and try and like move my head and like weave them in and out of the little lines on the road,
Oh,
like
I
slalom skiing.
that. I mean, I need to try that just to play a
It's
game with
so
my phone.
dangerous.
I don't know. I mean, like for me, it's like I listen to scary stories pretty often.
Okay. Yeah, I guess kind of like you could make it in terms of like quirks, maybe.
True.
Um, I do go down the YouTube rabbit hole pretty often. I'll watch like top 10 most disturbing things ever seen on earth, like weird stuff like that. Like I love it. Um, I like going to cemeteries, like just checking them out. Like,
That's pretty unique. I'll give you that one.
and I think that has more to do with my interest in like history than the morbidity aspect of it. But
Very.
I feel very like it's like a very kind of sobering like
Yeah.
atmosphere at those, going and like just like something like about being there makes me wish that all these people, like I don't know who they are or what they've done in their lives. Some might be good or bad people, but like just I can't ever help but feeling like you want them to be remembered. And so like
See,
going and like picking up a toppled over headstone or stuff like that, like it just always like has an effect on me.
yeah,
So like if I'm driving by myself and I see like the little cemeteries off like on the side of the road, I'll stop and go explore those, and I'll do that.
see, in that regard, I think I share that with you where like, I'm very like, I don't know, like I'm not afraid of being forgotten, but like for someone else, like, I don't know, like if I can, like you said, like look at their headstone, like, this was someone's mother or brother or sister kind of thing, like to know that they were there, just to,
Yeah,
I don't know, like take a minute to like remember them.
yeah, or just even acknowledge, that this was a person that existed, and
Absolutely, absolutely.
yeah.
No, this one's a little, to come down off of that. What is your favorite meal of the day and why?
Breakfast.
Absolutely. I'm right there with you. Breakfast is like,
Yeah,
if, I mean, what are you doing if you're not having breakfast all the time?
there's so many. Yeah, there's so like, and it's so easy to skip, but I will not skip it anymore. Like we
No.
wake up early, and I don't like, my wife goes to work at 8. I don't have anywhere else to be, so I'll wake up and make breakfast most every morning.
Uh-huh.
It's just like if you don't, it's just like such a part of my routine and like our day now. But I've always loved breakfast food. Like I could eat eggs and bacon and hash browns and pancakes and coffee every day
Me
for
too.
everything.
I'm not a pancake fan. I'm more of a waffle person. But you're right. I could have eggs, bacon, and hash browns for every meal of the day.
Yeah, and the sweets for me are interchangeable. Like it could be a pancake or a waffle or French toast or crepes, whatever. Like I don't care.
Pancakes don't do. I'm not a fan of pancakes. I don't know what it is. Like if you gave me like I would eat pancakes, but
Yeah,
I've had lengthy
I
debates
respect
with people.
I respect it. There's nothing wrong with not liking them. But everything else has to be there. The hash browns, the bacon, and the eggs.
I can't do without it. I can switch out sausage for bacon. Now,
Yeah, or ham sometimes.
ham.
Yeah.
Okay, I've got another idiosyncrasy. I can't have breakfast ham unless it's at IHOP or something.
Really?
I've never like fried ham to have breakfast.
Huh.
It's always been like sausage or bacon, you know?
Yeah.
Um, that's
Something nostalgic about it, maybe.
yeah, yeah. Um, but no, that was my final question, but I do have a couple more.
Okay.
So in Alaska I mean, granted, like technological advancements between now and then, but like historically speaking, sled dogs were pretty big as far as forms of travel. Like, is that still a thick thing in Alaska as it is now? Like, do people utilize that form of travel? Do they use vehicles more?
That's actually a really good question, and one I can completely honestly answer.
Uh-huh.
One thing I do know is that the system of roads only goes up as far as maybe a little bit past Fairbanks.
Uh-huh.
And that's only like a little bit more than, or maybe less than halfway into the interior of the state.
Uh-huh.
So everything else, like if you're going to get to it, most people are going to be flown into by
Yeah.
bush plane. Um, so I don't know how often like um, the native people of
Mhm.
Alaska use that as a means of transportation or anything like that.
Mhm.
Um, but to my knowledge, the people, I mean, at least the people that do it for sport.
Mhm.
Um,
Okay.
so yeah, I couldn't really answer that completely honestly, like how much of it is for like sport versus like serving an actual purpose,
Mhm.
because I know there's bush pilots and people like that that'll fly supplies all over the state and
See,
things like
that's something that I had fallen down the YouTube hole once. Is the most, I think it's like they call the northernmost town in Alaska, where like they have to have supplies flown in every month or so. And they have a very small populace. I can't remember the town's name, but um like a bag, like a little thing of Tide Pods was like $20.
yeah,
Wild, like the amount of like the price that they have to pay just to be up there, you know?
yeah, and a lot of that too, like it's already inflated because it's been imported from the lower 48, and so
Uh-huh.
it's like double. Yeah, it's pretty like cost of living up there is pretty high
Oh,
already, like even like in the cities and the developed areas. So
that's crazy. Well,
yeah,
those are all my questions. Did you think of any three things that you think that, you would do if you weren't so afraid? I mean, I've heard that you know, I want to say skydiving or like the form of skydiving. That doesn't really bother you?
so I was a paratrooper in the Army, so I have 30 static line jumps under my belt from an aircraft at about 1,000 feet.
So
That was a lot of fun.
heights
It's
don't bother you anymore.
well, it's I mean it's a little different than skydiving because you're only jumping from like 1,000 feet as opposed to like 35, and you
Mhm.
don't have to do anything. All you have to do is get out of the plane, and the way a static line jump works is you're hooked up to like a
Oh, okay. Okay.
yeah, and your chute opens as soon as you go out the door. It feels like have you ever been like tubing like on the lake and been thrown off the tube?
Yeah.
That's what it feels like going out the door. It just feels like you got thrown off like a inner tube in the water, except you don't
That's
slide
crazy. That's
into the
crazy.
water afterwards. So yeah, that's all. You're in the air for like 30 seconds, and then you just have to hope you land correctly and don't break your legs.
that that's an interesting way to put it. Just hope you land correctly.
It's you versus the earth, and the earth always wins.
Yeah, that's
So,
true.
but I would love to go skydiving.
I don't know that I
Yeah.
could. I don't have a fear of heights. I have a fear of falling.
Okay.
That's
And
the
too that like when you jump, like I've heard people say that when you're jumping from that height, it doesn't even feel like you're falling because you like
it felt, I guess like it would feel like static. Like I've done
yeah
the artificial skydiving thing, I guess. Um, where you're in a turbine.
all the wind tunnel.
That was odd. Like people who do that, it's an art in itself because like I
Yeah.
went in that tube and like I was getting thrown into the wall left and right, and it was
Yeah.
it was crazy.
Okay, I thought of something. If I wasn't so afraid, I would get a motorcycle.
A
Uh, like a
motorcycle?
lot of fun, but they terrify me. Just like
I
there's
can.
so little room for error, on those
Oh,
things, and
yeah,
yeah. So maybe that.
that's a fair one because I mean I'm the type of person that's I can't say I get afraid driving, but there's a lot of times where like I'm hyper aware of what's going on because I'm like someone's gonna run into me and throw me off the loop or something, you know?
Yeah. And
Yeah.
it takes like, or how many times have you been driving? You're like, and you realize how quickly like
Something's
something has gone wrong.
oh yeah,
That
absolutely.
happens like all the time. Like it's yeah, that's terrifies me.
I will I will remember one time where it was my sister and I driving down the highway and we were going through some town and it was just I can't say flooding, but like it was raining pretty hard, right? And obviously the roads got slick. We were slowing down. Like I get a truck had overturned, so they were kind of like guiding us around it. And I just remember this other semi coming up behind us, and I guess he was kind of like flying on his heels because he obviously couldn't see where that truck was overturned. It was just a bad position altogether. He couldn't see it, and all I see in like my rear view mirror is this truck coming. And like in the movies, kind of like how the truck kind of starts to slow, but then the trailer comes like is coming behind it like that. That
Yeah.
happened, and that was the most terrifying thing I have ever road and vehicle wise. That scared me. I like
Yeah.
slammed my foot on the accelerator and we took off. It was like, I don't know what's in that fuel tank. I don't know if it's milk or gas.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, driving, that's probably my most common like recurring nightmare is like I lose control of the car, like driving really fast, and I just end up flying off the road somewhere. And
It's pretty. I feel and like people say that like you're more likely to get in a car accident than to crash in a plane.
yeah,
It's wild.
other than that though, maybe climbing. Like
I'm,
that's something I would like to learn how to do.
uh,
Uh, like mountaineering type stuff, climbing.
okay.
Um, I
I have a
think I
movie.
haven't tried it because it's not necessarily like a fear of doing it as
Mhm.
much as it is a fear of not knowing what I'm doing as it is and
Yeah.
having to learn it and get outside my comfort zone.
Yeah.
I think I could say that for anything else that I want to try.
I have a movie for you that it's called Vertical Limit.
Okay.
It's a climbing movie. And I want you to watch it, then come back
Okay.
to me and tell me how you feel about climbing.
All right. Did you see there's a couple you probably did you see Free Solo with
Freeze.
the guy that climbs
Yes, yes, yes. I know what you're talking about.
that is insanity. What
Couldn't do it. Couldn't be me.
yeah. No, I couldn't either and I would never, but like
The fact that people do that though is mind-boggling.
to dedicate your life and like risk your life for the sake of being so
Just
good at something at one thing, like I'm sure he's good at a lot of things, but that's just
but
like mind blowing.
yeah, no, I agree with you. But things to think about. But all right. This is great. It's so great
Um,
to have you part of the office team now. You're an amazing guy.
Get
But
back at you, man. I appreciate it. You
yeah,
make me
of
cry over
course.
here.
Uh, thank you for coming on El Cafecito. You're going to be taking over these interviews, so you had to kind of take a step behind onto the interview seat. We wanted to see how you would answer.
Well, it was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it.
We're
Good
great.
questions. Good choice.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for tuning into this edition of El Cafecito. Everyone, have a great day.
Bye.